welcome back to Going Deep with Brett English, another breakthrough conversation. We've got Ben Arnold in the studio today. He's from a breath practitioner from Heart Breath, also a musician and a heart magician.
Yeah, I like
Thanks
that.
for coming down, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Stoked to be here.
So welcome, bro. So welcome. I wanted to touch in with you about how this journey unfolded for you in breath work, and because I believe you were in mining before.
Yeah, man. So I spent over 12 years in mining.
Wow.
So I left school at a young age, kind of got forced out of school, pushed out of school. I didn't enjoy school, so I kind of, was a bit of a rebel. And anyway, that process led me to get an apprenticeship as a diesel mechanic. Okay. And to be honest, I never actually wanted to do that in the first place.
Yeah. Did you actually leave high school early for that?
I did, yeah. So I did like a school apprenticeship link program where they help you get an apprenticeship. But basically, they give you like 5 options, bricklaying, carpentry, mechanics. And I was like, like mechanic seems pretty cool. Like I'll choose that. So I chose that, and then I got an apprenticeship as a heavy duty diesel mechanic. And, that left me feeling a range of different feelings. I didn't really want to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
So it left me feeling, anxious and didn't really know how to express how I was feeling.
Yeah, like you're on a path you sort of can't get out of.
Yeah. So I kind of just looked around me, what everyone else was doing in my life, to kind of like accept what was going on. And, a lot of my friends and community at the time were just partying, drinking, taking drugs. The colleagues I was working with had that kind of tough dude mentality.
Yeah.
Don't speak about your emotions, you're weak if you show your emotions. So I kind of just followed that path.
Yeah.
And that led me into a pretty dark hole of, substance abuse, drinking heaps, partying, then selling drugs. And then...
Good money?
Hey?
Good money?
Good money, yeah. No, not really. I kind of never made money from it. I just kind of sold to my friends.
Fair enough,
Yeah. And that led me getting beaten up in a nightclub.
Oh, wow.
And actually...
In Perth?
Down south.
Okay.
And actually had a spiritual awakening in the hospital bed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was wild, man. I had this... I shared this story at my workshop about... I was lying in the hospital bed and I was by myself, and it was late at night, and I began to have this somatic experience in my body. Because my nose was really busted up, I couldn't breathe in from my nose and out my mouth.
Oh, wow.
So I started to breathe in and out my mouth. And I started to have this somatic experience in my body where I was like taken back to every single moment in time where I had suppressed my emotions with alcohol and drugs. And after that experience, I realized that the only person that got me there was me. I could blame my parents, my teachers, my colleagues, whatever. Yeah. But the only person that got me there was me. I chose to get there. And then from that day, I made a commitment that night. Just like, I'll never put myself in that situation again.
Wow.
So I went searching after that. And then, when you go searching, you find what you're looking for.
Seek and you shall find, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's an incredible experience, man. In a hospital bed. Do you reckon it got to do with the actual breath out of the mouth that was sort of enhancing your experience? It's sort of like a breathwork session in a way.
Yeah, of course, man. I feel like the breath helped in that process, but I think it was that situation was divinely placed. Yeah. Like, I think if I continued on that path, like, I don't know where I would have been. I think it was a little, universe coming in and spirit giving me a little exit.
Yeah, 100%. It's like almost like an NDE in a way. How bad was the beatdown in that?
It wasn't. It was like, it was pretty gnarly.
Was it like a drug deal that just went wrong? Or
I was just, I probably shouldn't have been doing what I was doing in that nightclub, being someone else's place. True. That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. Fair enough, man.
Yeah.
It happens, bro. I remember like the culture when I was 17, 18, 19. Even in high school, my parents were like, you're either going to uni or you're getting a trade. At like 15, 16 years old, I'm like, holy crap, I don't even know what the options are in uni. Self-doubt, I'm not smart enough to go to uni, so I had to go into a trade. I did the same thing, but didn't really enjoy it, freaking hated it. 2 years into the apprenticeship, I just wanted out because you're getting paid like $7 an hour or something ridiculous like that. Went into sales and just drugs, alcohol, like chaos. But that was the culture at the time was just drinking and suppressing. So I feel you. And when you went seeking, what were some of the things that stood out to you the most that got you into, I'm assuming, music and breath work. Did you work under any people? What did you how did that process come about to find breath work?
For sure, man. So music has been a big part of my life. You know, my dad was an incredible drummer. So from a young age, you know, I used to sit there and listen to him play music. And I've always played music my whole life. So that's always been there. But I actually started with my health first because my health was in a pretty bad way.
Yeah.
I ended up hooking up with a health organisation, which had a network marketing model attached and a beautiful community. And going into that from where I was just, that was really scary for me at the time because I was just like, why are these people? I remember going to this conference in Perth and everyone was dancing in the beginning of this conference and they had Happy by Pharrell Williams on. And I was looking around and I was like, why the fuck is everyone so happy?
Yeah.
And it really like had a shift in me because I was like, fuck, people can actually, you can actually feel this happy. And that's how it started for me, man, was getting into fixing my health, being part around like-minded people who wanted to better themselves. And just this domino effect, you know, started reading personal development books, started opening up to, you know, leaving old friendships and leaving that community that I was in that path before and meeting new people and then exploring, you know, doing cacao ceremonies and sound healing and just this beautiful domino effect.
Yeah.
And then I was introduced to breath work and fucking blew my mind, eh? Like,
yeah, breath work's pretty special.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your first breathwork experience like?
So my first actual breathwork experience session was with two of my dear friends, Lucas and Hella from Awaken Breathwork.
Okay.
And I had this powerful, we did a breathwork session workshop for about 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I remember having this just euphoric feeling in my body and just, there was so much hurt coming up and pain and physical pain. And then it felt like someone had got a needle and stuck it in my leg. And I had this like huge, light, bright energy flow into me.
Wow.
And it was like spirit started to communicate with me and told me, this is your medicine. You need to work with this medicine of the breath. And that's when I, you know, received the guidance that I needed to become a practitioner.
Damn, that's amazing. So in your work, do you actually work alongside the spirit or are you guided intuitively or are you sort of clairvoyant or clairaudient in a way?
Yeah, I'm very intuitive, man. And over the, you know, like the past few years, 4 or 5 years, really diving deeper into that and tapping in to more of my gifts, and that is continuously evolve, man. And that's why I like spending time on country and sitting on the land. That's like my upgrade. Like when I go sit out in the land and nature, that's me recharging and it's me getting my upgrades as a healer or as a practitioner.
Yeah, whereabouts do you go normally for those upgrades?
Yeah, so I always feel called to the north, man. The north has a special place in my heart. And even when I was in mining, you know, because in FIFO for a long time, getting on the bus to go to site from camp, I used to just watch out the window and just, there's always been that connection there for me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's something interesting. When I go out and sit on the land, I actually struggle coming back. It's like when I'm out there, I feel one with everything, you know, one with the trees, the birds, the land. And when I come back to society, it's like fall back into that separation of like, I don't know, it's a weird...
I understand the feeling. I often go down south quite a lot, it's like Denmark, my river. I've only been to like the Pinnacles a couple of times. I haven't really gone to the north properly, but I've heard so many stories about, you know, Karajini and up there and how intense it is. And this, like, there's things like land spirits and stuff like that, which is a lot happening energetically. But just going down south quite a lot, when I drive back like sort of past Mandurah on the freeway, I can just feel like the stress creeping back up and the tension, even like somatically feeling it in my body, in my jaw. I'm like, holy crap, like, and if I'm with a friend while we're driving back, our conversation will change to more stressful or just, I was so aware of that change coming into Perth. I don't know what it is, whether it's the collective energy, or whether it's like there's too much going on, like electromagnetic lead power lines or 5G and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, yeah.
But
you definitely feel it. Like, I think it's like Safety Bay Road, man. That's like if you're going south, you feel like the cords from the city disconnect from you.
Yeah.
Then when you're coming back in, it's like, fuck.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. I actually want to move to Denmark, to be honest. But,
nice.
It's just a matter of finances and making it work out of the city. Adjustment period, obviously family and friends. But yeah, man, what are your thoughts on moving out of the city? Or do you have your work in the city and out the city? Or how's it set up for you?
Yeah, so I kind of in a place in my life where I feel called to spread my medicine. You know, go to places where people aren't going. You know, I shared before when we chatted that, you know, up in the north, there's not much work, this spiritual work and deep inner work for people up there. And I feel called as a human being, as spirit guides me to go to these places. You know, because there's always going to be people in the cities in Perth and other cities doing powerful work.
True.
And what about the people that outside in these towns that don't have access to it? And especially in the mining communities in the north that, you know, I've had plenty of time to be in that space before. Like, they're hurting, you know, and they need this work more than ever. This work is needed more in the world, more than ever than right now, but especially in these places where they don't have access to it. So that's where I'm feeling called at the moment, is to go and spread the medicine to places where people need it most. And
that's amazing. It's good to sort of go back in to those places, like into the system, so to speak, and help those people in need, because a lot of people are doing the breathwork and workshops are just doing it to the same community, you know, which is great. But the people who can't sort of make it, as you said, they're sort of really in need for it. Have you had much experiences working with the guys up north or on those mining sites?
Not particularly on the sites, but last year I did a heart breath, my first heart breath WA tour.
Wow.
So I went Perth, Margaret River, Carafa, and then back to Perth. I did two in Carafa, and that was incredible, man. Like, I had some friends up there who helped me get up there, and just the people in Carafa just absolutely loved it, because they had never really been exposed or experienced anything like that. And then I decided to go back again last year, but this time going to Newman and to Carafa. And this time I drove. So last time I flew, but this time I drove. So I got to experience the driving and spending time in beautiful places like Karajini.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and going to Newman was a spin out, because I spent a lot of time working in Newman in my mining career.
Sure.
And that's I just felt challenged as a practitioner, because I'm in this new place where I'm not around any of my normal people, community, people that are interested in this work, have access to this work. So it's really just like, okay, like, I'm here to really serve people. And I kind of left mining from a place of, I'm fucking done. I'm done with this kind of life. I'm done with these kind of people. So going back was actually really healing for me, because I was able to let go of those judgments I had about those people who are choosing to be in mining, who are choosing to work in that environment, who are choosing to be in that system. Is
it really sort of that bad when you're on site? Like, how stressful and draining is it? And what are the systems like that sort of keep people sort of, in a way, trapped in that lifestyle?
I think people get trapped because of the incredible pay package that people get access to, and people get trapped in what that money can do for them, and not really creating a plan to step out of it. And I think it really comes down to people not having a connection to self. You know, and it's hardcore, man. Like, just going away from your family, especially people with family and kids. You know, going away from your family for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever that's your swing is, like that, you're becoming separate from your normal life, and the long hours, 12.5-hour days, heavy labor. It really messes people up.
And the culture there, how is like the culture with the bosses and management and things like that?
You know, I think it's different each site. It's very different each site. You know, I've been able to go back. I've been able to go back in my time. In the last 2 years, I've been able to go back to mining to support me financially. You know, the last 2 years, it's been tough for people during this time. So I've recently been gone back, and I was really surprised by how nice and friendly the people were, and how healing it was for me. So that created a new perspective for me, because I was stuck at the same place for a long time, like 3-4 years. So you kind of get enmeshed in that, in the politics, in the drama, in the way going to the same place all the time. And that didn't serve me, because I like to move around. I like to be that free spirit. I don't like to be locked in.
100%. Sounds like you're going back now on your own terms.
Yeah.
your own work, for your own self that's in alignment with your soul.
And to build relationships.
Yeah.
And to, I've seen now people who are in that industry or want to work in that industry are just other human beings who need a job,
Yeah.
who want a job, who are doing the best they can with what they have. And, you know, it's not what I'd love to be doing.
Yeah.
But when I was up there, I was setting intentions of like, how can I make impact on someone's day to day? Each morning I'd make intentions in my breathwork practice, and those intentions would come true. I'd have an amazing day, and I'd end up having a conversation with someone that would lead into something of them having a realization or me having a realization. And
Beautiful.
that's a beautiful gift that we can give someone each day.
Would you say it's your intention that made that happen?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Intention's powerful. And I think when you do set an intention, it kind of puts it out to the universe to make that happen, or spirit. And yeah, I think
amazing.
Yeah.
So how do you work with spirit, and how do they sort of contact you? There's sort of practices you do to enhance that intuitive faculty.
Yeah, I actually have a really interesting relationship with spirit and my guides. They're quite comical.
Yeah.
So I kind of communicate with them in a really interesting way, where they talk to me, I talk to them, and then they kind of like lead me down the right path, but also help me, don't give me all the answers.
Yeah.
And I just kind of communicate like we're communicating intuitively, and I think each person has a unique way to tap into their intuition. You know, I feel some people hear conversations or see things or just see colors or just, I think every person should or does have a unique way
of communication.
Communication.
Yeah. Nice. And what's your primary way of communication with them? Is it
just tuning
their
in.
audience, or is it a thought form sort of transaction?
Yeah, it's kind of like a conversation.
Wow.
But then sometimes spirit will like bring me a bird or like show me a sign in an interesting way. I love spending time in the ocean. I spend a lot of time in the ocean.
Beautiful.
And that really, anything around water, like I just froth.
Beautiful.
It really
very cleansing and healing. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you with your guys when you're chatting with them, can you hear their voice like with tonality and pitch and that sort of stuff, or is it just like thoughts, the same way you'd recognize your own thought?
It's sometimes it's my thoughts, like sometimes it's me talking to me.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it's them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you tell the distinct difference between your thoughts and their thoughts?
Oh, they sound different.
Do they sound different?
Yeah,
so
the energy
like
behind
tonality
it.
or
Yeah, well, I usually see like I don't usually see things in this physical realm.
Yeah.
But when I close my eyes, I can see.
Oh,
so it's kind of like I have a picture of what they kind of look like.
Oh wow!
So
you can actually see their face as you're talking to them.
Yeah, I can see their kind of form.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And is that form like light? Is it humanish, or does it change depending on the conversation?
Depends on the conversation, but mostly humanist, man. They're like really like. Sometimes I think it's my ancestors too. Like it's.
Wow.
It's interesting. It happens so different all the time, and when I'm working with someone as well, like their ancestors or their guides and spirit will come and communicate to me in their guide form.
Oh wow.
To give me guidance of what they are needing.
That's really interesting, hey?
Yeah.
I met a few people like who had a similar gift to you, and they're normally very, very rare, very far few between to have that ability. Because I work with my guides, but at the moment, when we do communicate, I can either see the light or the light of the very crux of their being, not the actual whole outline. Unless I'm very deep in meditation, I can get a face very vaguely through if I really focus. And when it's communicating with thought, they're thought to be so similar to my thoughts with no tonality, no quirkiness behind it. It's like, okay, I really have to pull apart the differences.
Yeah, that'd be challenging, hey?
It's very challenging, yeah, because I was like, I talk to myself like, no, that's definitely them, because there's different impact to it.
Yeah.
But if it's just like in day to day, I can get the thought or idea. But I need to go very deep with meditation. I need to be very regimented with my diet and health because my channel improves. But it's very, I just find that so interesting that you have that ability to. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, and they're really comical, man. They'll like mess with me just to like have a laugh sometimes. Like when,
that's
your
ancestors for sure.
Yeah, when you've fallen into some unconscious patterns and behaviors like we all do, right? Like it doesn't matter how enlightened you are or how deep down, how much work you've done, you still fall into that, you know, sometimes in that unconscious
100%.
stuff, man. And when I have fallen into that, they'll just kind of like giggle or just laugh, being like, "Come on, man, like,
Yeah.
you're back in this same place. We were here last week. Like, come on."
Yeah.
Like,
That's awesome, man. Because I do believe that true spirit always have an amazing sense of humor. Like even if it's just like kind of lame or whatever, it's there. It's a very healthy sign that you're talking to the right beings.
yeah, man. And they'll always have our back, you know, like we're always so protected,
Yeah.
even when it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, true.
When things are fucked up and you're in your shit and you're feeling dark and everything in your world's crumbling, it's kind of like, I always just remember that spirit has my back. You know,
Yeah.
I will never get dealt something that I can't handle.
True. That's a very good point. I think no soul's given a burden they can't bear, right? What is your opinion or experience with psychedelic drugs or anything of that nature? Is it should it be used as medicine or should it be used as tools? Like, what are your thoughts on?
Oh, both, man. Like,
Yeah.
plants are powerful, man. Like, I've had experiences of plant medicine with mushrooms.
Yeah.
I've sat grandmother spirit, and yeah, they both have impacted my life massively.
Wow.
It's something that I still want to dive deeper into.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, sitting more with grandmother and
What's grandmother?
ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Did you do that in Australia or did you go to South America for that?
I have sat in Australia.
Okay.
I kind of was.
Is that down south?
No, not in
there's
WA.
more
Yeah,
places.
in the East Coast.
Okay.
It kind of fell in my lap. That experience fell in my lap. I was
Just sort of guided.
I was going for a relationship breakup at the time, and it kind of just, it was a conjunction with a men's initiation retreat over East, and part of that experience was sitting an ayahuasca journey.
Wow.
Within that, and it just kind of fell in my lap, and I was always a bit, you know, like we chatted before, like a dear friend of mine who had sat a lot of plant medicine in the jungle and been initiated and done a lot of time over there. Spending a lot of time with him was really showed me that it was really important to go over there and experience it.
Yeah.
And I deeply desire to, like that. I feel called to
go to South America.
To South America, yeah.
What do you mean by initiated? Because I'm not familiar with what does initiation entail.
Yeah. So initiation is I believe initiation is when you're transitioning into something from where you've been.
Okay.
So traditionally, initiation, that word initiation is from the transition from boy, girl to man, woman.
Okay.
So, you know, in the tribal indigenous cultures, they go through a rite of passage or initiation from being a boy or girl into stepping into adulthood.
That makes sense.
To man or woman. And part of that process is the initiation process, which is a ritual to show that rite of passage.
Yeah. And is that generally with like shamans or ancient indigenous?
Yeah, within
tribes,
those
stuff like
cultures,
that? Wow.
so indigenous cultures.
That's
And
cool.
it's something that we are lacking in this modern society. And I'm actually really passionate about this subject too,
Yeah.
because I have spent time doing this work with the youth, helping them transition into adulthood.
Wow.
And it is lacking, you know, the initiation I went through was have a few fucking beers and have a few eckies. Like that was the, you know, like that's the modern, you know, you go to levers and you get absolutely smashed at 17, 18.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And that's the initiation that's in this Western modern world.
Yeah.
So far from, you know, back in the day, if you were in a tribe, you'd have to go and hunt a lion or you'd have to go and do some sort of journey that was going to fucking challenge you mentally, spiritually and physically.
I think it's like in some tribes, I can't remember where it was, but it was Native American or somewhere around there. If your kid was 16, they'd make them spend like a couple nights out on their own in the wilderness and something like that, and then survive it and then become a man. Like that's pretty treacherous. Like,
oh man, there's heaps of wild stuff. There's these gloves you put in where there's like a million ants, fire ants, and you have to put your hands in these gloves. There's one, I think it's South America, somewhere in South America, where they, for a woman to transition, a girl to transition into a woman, they make her dance for 24 hours in front of the community. So she has to dance for 24 hours. That's like, whoa, physically taxing.
Yeah.
But the whole community gets to witness this girl transition into womanhood. So she's held and seen by her community and loved by her community, and then, you know, transitioned.
Wow, you went down for 24 hours.
Yeah, there's a famous African proverb: if we don't teach our young boys how to become men, they will come down and burn the village to feel the heat. And I think that's just powerful, you know. If we don't show them the way, then they're going to use their power to destroy. And it's what we're seeing in society with you know, young men, or, you know, getting into drugs, alcohol,
all that energy
violence.
not being channeled and dispensed with, or even anger and rage and that sort of stuff that's not being channeled. I had a guy on the show talking about his addiction problem with alcohol, where he had experienced a bad relationship with this woman who was, turns out, slightly schizophrenic, who did some weird episodes with him. He just suppressed it, he got PTSD from it, started drinking heavily, and one time he just blacked out from alcohol. He broke into a shop in the city and just destroyed the whole thing.
Whoa.
And then he's a big guy, like huge, and he became like fully awakened during this episode. He's like, holy crap, what the fuck have I just done? And he just literally laid on the floor with his hands behind his back waiting for the cops to come and arrest him.
Damn.
Yeah, then going through
That's
AA.
intense, man.
But he was just saying that when he drinks, so much rage comes up. And he was laying on his bed, I think, just giving up on life. And then he experienced this white light just lighting him up from the inside out. And he thought it was God. And ever since then, he's just been clean, 3-4 years clean of alcohol, and changed his whole life around. But he's just sort of saying that he was from England originally and coming into Australia, all of it is just alcohol, drinking, suppressing the emotions, and those emotions are going to come out some way or another. And how many times have we seen people in the nightclubs getting into fights or one punches or domestic abuse or whatever? Like, there's all these weird manifestations of rage and resentment that are showing up, which I believe that's why your work is so important, because in those breath workshops or in your breath work events, what can people expect, and what have you seen that happens in these sessions?
Yeah, man, I've held a lot, you know, and it's all different to each person and where they're at in their life and what's going on in their body. Like, there's so much we store in our body, you know, when we experience traumatic events or any sort of event where our body goes into a contraction, we take on those experiences, and and the body is so intelligent and smart that it takes it on to keep you alive during that event. So that it gets stored in the nervous system, in the body, different places in your fascias, different places in your mind and memory and consciousness. And, you know, the breath activates unrest states of consciousness, which gives us access to those different parts of our body and different parts of our consciousness. So it just all depends on what the person is going through. You know, I've held space with people who are just processing a lot of grief and sadness from, you know, maybe a relationship ending or stuff they've experienced in their childhood, or someone's just a lot of rage. And the crazy thing is that you never really know what's going to come up in a breath journey. It's just kind of like, you just got to be open and surrender to whatever comes up, and when we have to let go of that control of what's going to come up. You know, we can have these powerful intentions to deal with something that happened in your childhood, but that actually might be a couple layers deep. You know, we're like an onion. You peel one layer off, and there's another there. That might be a couple down. You know, and you might have to work through some other stuff first to get to that root cause. And
true. And how do you hold that space for a group of people, and also energetically, but also physically, if people start to, I don't know, do they move around or yell, or maybe go so deep you can't get them back out? Like, are there some stories that you've sort of seen in how to hold that space?
Yeah, so it's a really great question, man. When I started getting into this work, I always felt this desire to like help people, and I've always felt that within me. And just people ask me this question all the time, like, what do you do when someone's going through a huge cathartic experience where they're expressing rage? I kind of just go into this, I just really in my genius. I'm really as a healer. Like, I really feel that I'm here to be a healer in this lifetime. You know, if we all lived in a community, like in the tribal days, I would be the healer in the community. So that's my gift. So when I'm in that space, that's what I step into. It kind of that's what happens. Like, people ask me this question all the time, like, how do you, because like, I'm quite gifted shamanically as well with my hands. My hands are really powerful hands. And I just step out of the mind. I step out of being in control. I step out of I kind of step into this powerful being. And I always just know what to do. It's just like a knowing within me, you know. And I have obviously been trained in breath work, so I do have that deep knowledge of what is going on in someone's body. But I think the true gift of whatever gift you have, and when you're doing that gift, what you are or who you are in that moment is purely that. And that's with anything, really, you know.
Yeah. So when things just happen, you know what to do intuitively. Do you believe that's sort of spirit guiding you, or that's your embodying your higher self, or you sort of stepping into, I don't know, like work mode for some people, or just
it's spirit, man. It's spirit working through me. You know, before my workshop, I set a shamanic container energetically as well, and I set intentions within that for people, and that creates that safety container and doesn't allow anything else in to come in.
Is that a process of visualization for you?
It's like I go through this ritual practice that's come intuitively for me, that I create.
Oh wow! So that's all downloaded.
All downloaded.
That's amazing. Yeah. And what are some of the best ways you can do to, even just in the home or when you're out in public, to protect your own energy, just from whatever it may be? Do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, I'm really sensitive, man. So I feel fucking everything. You know, like even in my astrology chart, I'm like everything water. So like I feel a lot, and I know a lot of people are sensitive too. So it's always a check-in process for me. You know, I really sit with, is going to that event or is me going to this place actually serving me in this moment? And if I get a no and then I go do it, I'll get there and I will then energetically just feel absolutely drained.
Pay the price,
So to answer your question, I like to just set my energy field up. You know, it's kind of just like, if I'm going somewhere where I know there's going to be a lot of people or that it's a new place, I kind of just set the intention of just imagine there's white light around me. And
is that like translucent or like solid in your visualization?
It's interesting. I don't really go that like, I don't really sit that, I just kind of just naturally happens.
Do it. Yeah, fair enough.
I think for me personally, when I'm deeply connected to my heart, like I'm in my heart is open, that has a natural effect.
Beautiful, okay.
But if I'm in an environment where I'm not, where my heart feels closed, or I actually don't want to be there, or I'm doing it out of obligation, that then I think deeply impacts how I'm experiencing that situation or environment.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of analysing everything. I'm going to take that battery quickly.
No worries, man.
Here, and I'll jump back into it. All right.
Sweet, man.
Awesome.
I was just thinking then, when you were changing the battery, was for people that, you know, need tools and resources around helping them feel more, you know, protected when they're out there. There's so many cool stuff, you know, you can wear crystals, you can have different oils with you. And I think each person should dive into what that is for them. I'm really about empowering people into what is most aligned for them. Because there's so many tools and resources out there in the world, you know. You can do breath work, you can go do plant medicine, you can go do tantra work. About to sneeze, man. Oh no, it's gone.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, it was just on the cusp, eh?
Yeah.
Cusp?
Cusp?
Yeah, cusp. On the cusp, man. There's so many things out there that you can do that can help you. And I think it all gets to the same place. But I feel like it's just about you finding your alignment with that.
Yeah, because everyone's slightly different, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Like I got a friend who just reacts to crystals so well. He can just grab one, and he's like, "Whoa, I can feel the whole thing."
Mm-hmm.
Working with him. For me, like I work with amethyst.
Beautiful.
It's the only crystal that I actually pick up. I'm like, "Whoa!" I feel the effect right in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's placebo or not, but I genuinely feel it. No other crystals really gives me an effect for whatever reason. But my friend is just so into it. But going back to the white light thing, visualizing it around you, I was having experiences where at certain times in the night, at certain occasions, I could actually see spirit.
Yep.
Usually darker, shadowy spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working on different ways to sort of push them out of my room or push them away from me. And all the time I used to use prayer, I used to use Jesus, and I used to use my guides to call them in. But I went to this healing lady and she was like, well, if you actually send them love, like intention of love, that you can actually see the effect of love on it or on the being. Usually they actually step back, like what the hell, because it's so repulsive to their natural state of being. Or they get aggressive, they don't like it. But I was using this field of light around me, which didn't work. But then she's like, well, visualize this light solid gold. And I did it solid, like really, like a wall, and just push. And it literally pushed it out of the room.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, holy crap, like that's really
Powerful,
interesting.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I only get that in sleep state. So if I'm out and about, I can't see spirit or hear them unless I'm really deep. And I was like, are there anything that you've done in your life to help you? Did this gift amplify at any stage in your life, whether it's through after a certain ceremony, after a certain practice, or was it just natural for you?
Well, it happened in a natural occurrence for me.
Yeah.
Something, just to go back a little bit, something that I do a lot is, because I feel really connected to water, is I imagine even people that I'm around, like if I know that someone's going through, hardship or a hard time, or I just imagine that there's a gold white waterfall washing over them.
Oh, wow.
And that has a really powerful effect on me. Like imagining water, you imagine you're standing under a gold waterfall, and just that energy flow of the water moving through you washes away anything that's not serving you.
Yeah.
So that can be a really great tool for people.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to what you shared around, has it been a natural occurrence for me? It has. But I think, I feel, is that it is developed over deepening a connection to myself. Like moving through the stuff that's happened in my life that stopped me from fully being tapped into my gifts,
True.
past traumas or past experiences. Moving through that myself in my own healing work, then leaves you more connected to your heart, more connected to your spirit and soul.
Beautiful.
And then, I do have another practice that I do that helps me tune into my genius and my greatness. Can be really powerful. Yeah. And it's something that I'm in the process of bringing to the world.
Beautiful. Is that the heart magic?
It's with heart magic, yeah.
Okay, could you give us a little bit of a quick taste to see what's coming?
Yeah, so like I was sharing before, doing this deep healing work, processing past emotions, past traumas, doing the healing work, and it's powerful. But I feel that people get stuck in trauma loops. They get stuck in healing loops. Doing healing work, going to another workshop, doing another workshop, doing another workshop, getting caught up in that cycle of really thinking they need to heal more. And that puts yourself into a healing crisis.
It does.
And you start to believe that something wrong with you, that you need to do more healing. And I feel what is a gateway for that, or a bridge for that, is cool, amazing, do the deep healing work, but what are you creating? What would you love to create from this new place, from this new awareness, from this new open heart, from this new place that you've stepped into from doing the healing work? What would you love to create? What would you love to be doing? What would you love to be experiencing? And that's what heart magic is about, is helping people move from re-anchoring them into their heart space, re-anchoring them into what they would love, and de-anchoring them from, the past, the pain, the suffering. And I kind of see it as like, imagine there's a ship out in the ocean and the seas are rough. And for some reason, this ship is anchored there. It's got all the anchors in. And it's just copping these waves. And those waves of stuff you've experienced in your life and stuff that you've been through and stuff that is controlling your life and impacting your life. And the stuff we do in Heart Magic is about, let's pull up those anchors, let them go, move out of those stormy seas and anchor in a beautiful harbour or anchor in a beautiful place that is what your heart truly would love to be experiencing and doing.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I've had this very similar thoughts of myself when I'm just going through workshop to workshop to workshop, different healing modalities. And it's just like, well, the more I'm looking for issues and traumas, the more I'm finding it. And it's just like, it's got me in this spin out. Because before I got into this full-fledged into the healing community, I was a lot more proactive in what I was doing. But then I realized I've healed so much and I've got to be proactive again. But just finding that balance between healing work and creating is a struggle for me.
For sure, man. And when you are creating, you're like doing your true nature and purpose. You know, I really believe that we've all come here in this lifetime for a purpose.
Yeah.
To experience life, to experience what our heart really truly wants to desires or truly wants to follow. And I think, you know, I feel sorry when we go into those healing crises, those healing loops, we actually don't get to experience this world. We're actually not experiencing the fruits of this place. We're not experiencing, it's not functional, it's not healthy. It's like, you constantly just, like, not, you just...
Chasing your own tail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
100%. So with Heart Magic, how will a workshop, what will someone expect from like an event from you in that space? Will it be like half healing, half creative, or just...
So Heart Magic is a curriculum. So it's a curriculum for people, a healing curriculum under the banner of creative healing.
Wow, creative healing.
Yeah. And that came through Spirit. And, you know, I've been very honoured and lucky to work with some incredible mentors, especially in the alchemy space.
Nice.
You know, turning the lead to gold is what alchemy is about, right? In that form. But the lead is your structures, your past traumas, your beliefs, the definitions, meanings you've created from stuff you've experienced in your life.
Yeah.
And it's about moving through that and turning it to gold. And the gold is your heart. It's like turning the shit to gold.
Well, lead's like the most dense, heaviest material to the most beautiful electroconductive metal in the world, right?
It's just about stepping out of that lower and stepping into the higher, and acknowledging all parts of that. You know, it's, you know, step one is awareness, and then step two is like stop doing that. You know, stop putting energy into those past behaviors or patterns or giving that power.
Yeah.
It's like when we give something power, it's like that then reinforces whatever you're putting the power into.
That's true.
If you're putting power into that you're not, beliefs around you're not good enough or you don't belong, you know, that's one I really struggle with, is I don't belong. And if you're putting power into that, you're just going to keep experiencing that in your world.
True.
It's going to keep reinforcing. You keep finding evidence that you don't belong, that you're not good enough. And it's like, fucking stop that. Put the power into your heart.
True. Well, what do you think the heart exactly is?
That's a beautiful question, man. No one's ever asked me that question before.
Besides the mechanical pump, you know?
Yeah, wow. I feel like the heart is the bridge to our soul. And our heart is the bridge to who we truly are.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's incredible, man. Like,
it is, yeah.
Being connected to your heart and being open in your heart is such a unique experience. And even when you are experiencing pain too, you know, I've recently been going through something, and the liberation and the freedom when you truly allow yourself to feel what's on your heart, even if it is grief or sadness or joy or pleasure, like that is liberation. That is freedom.
Yeah.
And without the attachment of what it means. You know, when we experience something and it brings up sadness, allow yourself to feel the sadness,
Mm.
but don't attach to what it means about you. Just because you're sad doesn't mean you're weak.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
We're always looking for different meanings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It reminds me of the book like Man's Search for Meaning, how we always try to find meaning, justifications out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the times we just, as you said, you don't need to find a meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then it creates story.
Yeah.
And then we get caught up in the story. And then we all love story.
Yeah.
Because it's exciting. And then we go down the story. And then we play out the story.
True.
And then reinforce the story. And it's just a continuous
loop.
But
Trauma loop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you what are your practices you do on a daily basis, and
Mm-hmm.
also obviously on a weekly basis as well, just for yourself and your own
Mm-hmm.
sort of alignment?
Yeah, so I have a daily breathwork practice
Yeah.
that I guide myself through.
What type of breath work is that?
So I use nostril breathing,
Okay.
which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is actually a really nourishing rest and digest breath. And then some days when I feel like I need to really charge up or I've got stuff coming up, I'll do some open mouth breathing, which activates the sympathetic.
And is that the rebirthing process? Breath work?
It's just conscious connected breathing.
Okay,
So there's no gap between the inhale and exhale.
yeah.
So it's a continuous flow. And I like to breathe into the belly and then into my heart space. So it's a two-part.
Belly first, heart. Okay.
Yeah. So I do a practice each morning, a breath practice. I like to really start my days off really slow and gentle. So I do that, gentle breath. And then I do a process where I do my choices. So these choices are linked to my genius and my greatness and what I am creating in my life, what I'd love to be creating.
Okay.
Similar to that process that I was sharing before about heart magic.
Yeah.
So I do those choices, which help set up me energetically to what I'm stepping into or what I'm creating.
Okay, cool.
And then, I usually drink cacao.
Oh, nice.
Which
Every
is
morning?
Not every, lately, every morning.
Okay. It's beautiful, eh?
And then I like to spend time in nature. So if that's a bushwalk or lately it's been swimming in the ocean.
Nice. In the winter?
In the winter, man.
Wow.
It's like every day been going in.
Invigorating.
It's so good, man. It's
Yeah.
so good for the soul and the body, and I love it.
Yeah, I love that, bro. I was doing 6 a.m. dip. That was obviously summer, spring. When winter came along, I still try to do the cold shower at least 3 or 4 times a week. I just started doing it just recently, and it just changes my day, man. I find I have more energy. I don't lose my shit as much, if that makes sense. But
when you don't do it, like I know when I haven't done my practice fully. I can see that throughout the day.
Yeah,
I see that impact.
I get a little bit lazy, and my willpower drops a little bit, which is what I've noticed. But what I don't notice could be bigger than that.
Yeah.
Can we say some things that you've experienced, right, that are the most profound experiences you've had, either with breath work or dreams, or something that's just sort of stood out to you as like a really, they call it an ego death or a huge redirection?
Man, I feel like
hospital is one of them.
Hospital is one of them. I feel like I experience these all the time.
Oh, wow.
And as a practitioner or a healer, the work never stops. You don't get to a place where you're done. You don't get to a place where, okay, I've looked at all my shit. And the more that I develop as a human being in my own inner work and as a practitioner, I'm always going to be getting upgraded. So then I can hold more.
True.
I always believe that I will never hold someone through something that I have never experienced. And it's true. People that come to my workshops and do one-on-one sessions with me and work with me, I have been through what's coming up for them. Not the exact situation, but the same feeling, the same like root cause emotion or whatever is going on.
That makes sense.
So I feel like I'm always getting continuously upgraded and fucking initiated, and especially at the moment I've just stepped into my Saturn return. And it's been wild, man. Like it's
Well, what does Saturn represent or symbolize in general, and also for you?
It's interesting because I actually don't know much about astrology.
Yeah.
I just know that Saturn return is a huge awakening for people. That at 28, when you go for this huge transition in your life where, but I feel like that's been happening for the last 6 years.
True. Okay.
So it's kind of,
Yeah. Well, do you know that each planet has its own either masculine or feminine energy with their energy attached to it? And Saturn is a very strong masculine energy, I believe, right? Similar like Mars, like the war planet. But Saturn's pretty powerful. So the hexagram on it as well. You seen that on the North and South Poles? So it's a pretty intense planet.
But yeah, I definitely feel like I'm going for a huge initiation. You know, like I shared a little bit about heart magic and what that entails. You know, that entails a powerful part of version of me. And, you know, I feel like for that to then be birthed into the world, I have to then go through that experience of the medicine of that work. Yeah. And I have to go through that to then be solid within that. Something that I really value is integrity. And I won't put something out if I don't feel like I am fully aligned with it or embodied with it. Like I actually put out a workshop early this year, and after I put it out, I realized that it wasn't aligned. So I put out on social media that I'm pulling down the event because of that feeling. Wow. And I think that's something that, I really values, you know, like I'm not going to put something important. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a very cool thing. I mean, amazing thing to do so far in integrity is to pull that event down and admit to it.
Yeah. But I had a really powerful experience with heart breath.
Okay.
So I woke up one day feeling really just like lost. You know, like fuck, I've done breathwork practitioner training, all this work, spent, you know, all my income that I earned from mining into myself and my growth, and I still felt lost. I was like, I don't know where I am. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a breathwork journey with myself. And this is something that I do weekly. I hold myself through my own breathwork journey, and also see other practitioners and other mentors as well that help me. But usually I do one a week. So I was like, okay, I'll hold myself through one. Nice. And at this point I was still in mining. I was still working in the mines, FIFO. But at this point I was doing a job share roster, which allowed me to have more time off. So I set some intentions for this session to get some guidance around what's next for me. Like to ask Spirit. I was like, Spirit, deliver me what's here for me. Like give it to me all. Like I want to go deep. And I was like, okay. And that's how funny me and Spirit talk. It's kind of like, all right, let's do this. Yeah, love it. So I started to do the breathwork journey, and I began to have another very powerful somatic experience like I had in the hospital. Wow. And I had this entity, well, I kind of associated with entity at the time, come to me. And it was in the form of the feminine, of a woman, of a female. Okay. And she came to me, and she started to communicate with me like we are right now. Like a light, bright entity? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Form, female form. Oh wow. And couldn't see her face, but it was clearly a female representation, or a feminine. Must be very bright then if you couldn't see the face. Was it just light you could see glowing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was intense. And her heart was really, really open. It was like I could get exposed to all of it. And anyway, she started to communicate with me, and she's like, it was just so funny, hey. She was like, hey. I was like, hey. She's like, oh, my name's Heart Breath. And I was like, Heart Breath. Heart Breath. And I was like, oh, whoa. Like, and she's like, I've come coming to you to bring this to the world. Wow. And this is who I am, and this is what you're going to be doing. So I was kind of in and out of this process, systematic experience, for a while. So I was journaling, writing stuff down, what she was telling me, going back in, writing down more, and she just started to just tell me everything. This is what it's going to look like. These are the people that are going to be helping you. My partner at the time was a really big part of that. Wow. Really big why and reason to push that. And yeah, this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to go back to mining and impact these people. Like showed me and told me everything. Like showed me. That's amazing, bro. Every single thing that was going to go down, and it has happened. No word of lie. Everything she told me has happened. Wow. Yeah. It's a full-on awakening. Yeah. Right. And when you're doing the breath work and you're sort of going back into it and coming back out of it, when you're coming back out of it, would her form disappear?
you had to do the breath to go back into it to see her again?
I just closed my eyes. It's kind of the whole
Okay.
experience was.
Like internal, but
Yeah, and then she would then I'd lay down and
yeah.
I'd sit up to write and then I'd lay down and then I would go through. She would work on me.
Wow.
So she was delivering me heart breath, or heart
Yeah.
breath was working through me, healing my stuff,
Yeah.
giving me an embodied experience. So the stuff that she took me through
Yeah.
is what I do in my workshop. So
Wow.
everything that she put me through is what I guide people through.
Wow.
So when people come to my workshop, Heart Breath, I
Yeah.
call in her, and that it's not like I've just formulated it from what I think people should do. It's
Yeah.
come through from her.
That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
she gave me that embodied experience first,
Wow.
so then I can embody it to then do
Yeah.
it for others.
And you're going on a tour with this around?
I am going on another tour now. I'm doing a Northwest tour,
Okay.
and I'm embarking week after next.
Oh wow, on Heart Breath.
Heart Breath, yeah.
Oh wow, this is brand new. Are you doing any
Yeah.
in Perth?
I did a workshop last month in Perth,
Yeah.
but I'm not doing one here in Perth. There's an interesting thing, I think we were talking about it a bit before, about how I feel called to deliver medicine to people that need it. Heart Breath, Spirit has made that really clear
Yeah.
and really obvious to me. In the past month or half, I've really tried to put out, I've put out a Perth event for this Sunday actually,
This Sunday, okay.
for Heart Breath this Sunday.
What time?
It was meant to be happening at 10 a.m.
Okay.
So I launched this tour about 3-4 weeks ago,
Yep.
and that event's been up for ages. And I have quite a big following in Perth from
Yeah.
my workshops I've done. But the thing is, no one has bought a ticket.
Wow.
There's been no traction around it, and I sat with it, and Spirit was like, "Yeah, it's because your medicine, your heart, and my work is getting called elsewhere,
Up north.
up north, and it's
Wow.
making it really obvious for me to leave. Like I feel like in the past few weeks, Spirit has made it really obvious for me to hit the road. 'Cause I felt quite resistant about it,
Yeah.
because I feel like it's going to be really powerful.
Yeah.
Not just for the people, but for myself and my own time on the land.
It's interesting.
And these things happen in my life all the time where Spirit will make it really obvious that it's time to move on or it's time to do something different.
Yeah.
And it will do that by pulling everything away from me, by crumbling my world
Yeah.
so that I'm bare.
It
And it's
does.
just me and my rawness.
It does a very similar thing to me as well. Actually, when it's time to move on, like I don't know whether it's just my ego doesn't want to change, it doesn't want to grow, or the resistance is so strong to where you need to go. But I had these books that I was given to read about like spirituality and mediumship, and I just kept them in my drawer, and I never read them for years, like 4 years. I had such a massive resistance to reading them, and I started reading them, my whole life changed. But I was like, why was I resisting it for so long? Like, you know, it's almost like you're resisting the move up north, which is such a powerful, strong calling to divinity speaking to you. What is that resistance, and why is it there?
You know, I was thinking about this yesterday actually, and I nearly messaged a friend to say, hey, can I share something with you? I have a friend that we share quite, we support each other a lot. She's trained in the same work as me, and I was sitting with her, and what was coming up was, I'm actually really scared. Not so scared about delivering the powerful work.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's an element of uncomfortableness, unknown for me. I feel like I've been quite comfortable in the past year or so in Perth, like really comfortable within myself, in my relationships, within my community, and within my work. And I feel this tour, going to places where it's needed most and that people are struggling hard, is going to challenge me as a practitioner. It's going to challenge me as a healer. It's going to challenge me as a being.
Yeah.
And there's always that kind of bit before you're about to go on any sort of journey, if that's traveling or if that's healing work or whatever it is, there's always that like between, that space between where it's kind of like, it's a bit unknown.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to go down.
Are you going on your own?
I'm going on my own, yeah.
It's a big thing to do, man.
Yeah.
That's a massive journey too. Have you thought of having like a a partner in the business at all, or does it have to be solo?
I was always felt connected solo. I've had people come. I have people that come support me.
Yeah.
That are in my community that are trained as well.
Yeah.
But yes, the spirit of Heart Breath and has been quite clear about what that looks like.
You're going solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually, like I shared that it's going to be really powerful for me being in time and land. But something that I've been really doing is removing myself from it. This is actually about the people.
Yeah.
This is actually about delivering this work for people that need it, that are desiring it. Because once we remove that attachment of ourself, it just makes flow. I feel like that makes room for everything else to happen.
Yeah, that's like pure love, Christ consciousness in a way. Where you sort of sacrifice yourself completely in the service to others, which is the most powerful thing you'll ever do, which you'll be rewarded, I would imagine, immensely for that. Not that it's about the rewards, but that's just how things will unfold.
For sure. I think the reward is spending time on the land and the upgrades that's going to give to my music and to my own journey. But the main thing that I'm focusing on, the end result, is for the people.
Yeah.
And not in a way that's sacrificing my own energy or sacrificing myself in that way of I'm jeopardizing, I'm sacrificing my own physical and emotional and spiritual health. No, it's more of I'm doing this because that's what I'm here to do.
True.
Like that's the soul's calling, and just got to keep following that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And that's wild, man.
It is wild. So next week, this is going on next month?
No, next I leave on the... so I've actually pushed it back a week.
Yep.
So I was meant to be leaving next Thursday. So I'm leaving the Thursday after.
Okay, so what towns are you hitting up?
So I'm doing Geraldton, Carnarvon, Exmouth. I'm doing a mining town called Panamonica. Okay. And then I'm going to Carafa, Port Hedland, Broome. And then after Broome, I'm going back down, where I'll be doing Newman, Tom Price, back to Panna, and then I'll be parking up in the Pilbara for a little while and running some programs. And I feel like where I'm moving is creating sustainability for people. Yeah. You can come and do a powerful workshop and lead that experience. And I feel like maybe 25% of people actually go out and make change and embody that new version they've stepped into. Yeah. And I think other people just fall back into old ways. Yeah. And I think that's because there isn't enough things for people to step into after. Enough integration, enough other work for them to learn deeper practices, have that space be held for them. So I really want to go up there. My intention is to go up there and facilitate powerful work, but give them the tools and resources and empower them to be able to hold themselves and hold each other. Yeah, because I can't always be there, and I don't want to ever guide, hold something where people rely on me. I want to give them the tools and the resources and these powerful practices that they can embody and they can bring into their own life. Wow. So they can help others, their family, their kids, their partners.
Beautiful, man. So 25% will go out and make big changes. The other ones may have a few more cycles to go. Or you never know, like the stuff that they can download or practice in, giving advice to their kids or friends or family, just trickle effect. It just keeps on growing.
You never know the impact you have on someone.
Yeah.
Never know, eh?
Yeah, you don't know. That's beautiful, bro. I'm really excited to stay connected with you and hear about your work and what goes on.
Thanks, man.
I'd love to join one of your Heart Breath sessions or workshops, but I'd imagine I'd have to drive up north to experience it, which I don't mind because I want an excuse to go up north now.
Yeah, beautiful, man. I will be definitely coming back to Perth and be running a big one when I get back, so I can keep you posted, and for the Perth community as well. And yeah,
that's amazing, bro. I love that. Hey, is there like a question that you wish people would ask you? Something you wish to share that sort of when it comes to your work and the magic that you do?
It's just interesting in my workshop. I always say like this open for questions, and usually people don't really ask questions. But I love questions because it can unpack and go into different, people get to share what's going on for them, and then you get to answer it in a way that specifically helps them. But I think when someone answers a question and then you help them with it, it actually is medicine for other people. Yeah. So I don't think there's a particular question that people would ever ask me, but I always love just talking about this work and this life. I feel like, and you would have experienced this before, you get to a point where you're like, there's no going back. Like once you have moved into this new place of awareness of there is more to life than what I've been experiencing for most of my life, there is no going back to that. Yeah. I think you get to this line where you're like, whoa, I've crossed it. Yeah. And there's no, I can't go back there.
That's true. I think there is going back a great consequence to your soul, because those who have wisdom and knowledge have less free will, because the path becomes so clear that if you deny it, you know that you're denying it, and that's a greater sin, to use a buzzword that people don't like, but it's true. You act against your own soul, you're hindering your own spiritual progress, which is a huge price to pay. You know? So I understand that line, and like I've crossed the line, and there's been times where I'm like, whoa, this is like overwhelming. Yep. What do I do with this? I got to change my whole entire existence. And sometimes like I waste a lot of time, I procrastinate and have this fear. Leading into my next question is, what was your greatest obstacle in the becoming of who you are now? And what do you think fear really is and how to conquer it? 3-part question, if you can unpack that. I mean, it's a tough one.
Biggest obstacle was letting go of who I think I am and who I should be.
And what was that story that you were telling yourself of who you were?
That I have to be, someone that everyone likes, that I have to be this person, that I have to make everyone happy, that I have to be a certain way, that I have to do a certain job. And when I was able to let that go and really, truly see myself and my own heart, was just like fucking life-changing. Because then it's like, no matter where I go, if I don't want to be in that situation, then I'll choose not to be in that situation. Happens all the time. Like with doing stuff, I'm like, actually, I want to go do this now, and I'm going to go do that. Where before, I'd just accept that that's what we're doing with the people that I'm with, or where we are, and accept those conditions, and not choose something different. And into fear, it's an interesting one, fear. Because this is the ego trying to play us fucking games. It's just bringing up all the shit to see which you're going to choose. Are you going to choose to be in a lower vibration or a higher vibration? Are you going to choose to be in a victim orientation or a creator orientation? Are you going to choose to be in your pain, or are you going to choose to be in your joy, in the higher? Or are you going to choose to be in your ego, or are you going to choose to be in your heart? And that's fucking hard. Like, don't get me wrong, it's easily said than done. It's what we've been talking about. To embody it is another whole step. But to quiet the ego, it's a fair challenge.
It's mental, man, to be honest. Like, I think about the biggest fear for me was public speaking. That was just terrifying for me to do that. And one of my friends was doing stand-up comedy, and I've always written down my jokes and I wanted to do stand-up comedy, and like I just avoided it for so long. And then I finally did it. But like beforehand, I was like on the stage, I was cold, like freezing cold, shivering, even though it wasn't meant to be that cold. I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's a full like episode. So I finally go on the stage and my hand is like shaking. Deliver all the jokes I meant to deliver, like a really good round of applause, like ovation, probably the best of the night, to be honest. And then I got off the stage and I was fucking hot, like sweating, like And I was like, what the hell just happened? Like I have no idea. Like was that like anxiety, fear, or some block that was sort of in my body? But I just could not wrap my head around what the hell just happened. As far as the shivering and the heat, and this is like something was stored in my body that was blocking me from public speaking or talking or doing my gifts or just acting in the world in any sense of the word. do you know if there's a place where fear or anxiety or these things are actually stored in the body, or is it just a belief system? Like, what do you think that was that happened to me on that day?
Yeah, a lot was coming through when you were speaking then. There's a lot to this, what I'm about to say. Is that I feel like fear can often sometimes be showing us what our gift is. Like when we feel fearful about something, it can actually be showing us that's what we need to lean into. But fear can also be triggered by if you're in a really situation where your fight and flight responses have activated, because you say someone's trying to attack you, you're going to go into fear, and your fight and flight responses are going to, or freeze, are going to be activated. Your stress response is going to be activated. You're going to either do either those, fight, flight, or freeze. So, I think every situation is different, and I think it's about really identifying what's actually coming up and what environment you're in. And I feel like the emotions of fear, I think it's called, fear means false emotions appearing real.
False evidence appearing real?
False
or
appearing.
Both false evidence. False evidence opposed to false emotions.
And fear can bring up different emotions: grief, sadness, anger, rage. Those definitely store in the body.
Yeah.
And I think it's about identifying, okay, I'm feeling that fear come up right now. I'm feeling whatever that is. I'm not going to attach to what that means, but I'm going to feel it. I'm going to identify it. I'm going to maybe check out why is it coming up, and then going into, okay, that's grief. I'm feeling fearful about leaning into this new relationship because of the grief that I experienced in my last heartbreak. Or there's anger coming up. I feel anger because of something happened in the past. And I think when anything comes up, it's bringing something up from the past.
Yeah.
That's been triggered.
Wow.
And yeah.
So I found, well, from what I've heard, is breathwork is hugely powerful for that. I think I had Jake Loretto on here.
Oh, beautiful man. Yeah, I know Jake.
Yeah. Some of the stuff he was saying was just like, wow. And now your story as well. Like, you guys do a similar work, but I can see from different angles, But breathwork is powerful for releasing those layers off and off and off. And I still haven't committed to the challenge of doing one breathwork a day for 21 days, was what he told me to do. Nice. I haven't even done one.
Yeah.
But I really want to do it.
Yeah, man. It's powerful.
Or beside the breathwork, the only other thing would be that using what you learn from breathwork and those things that come through the downloads or the bits of advice, and then applying them in the world, no matter how much fear you feel, is the only way to generally move through it. Out of all the things that I've seen and done, it's breathwork and conscious living is the only way through. I've experienced other things like you got like journaling or cacao or psychedelics, but sometimes what you get from psychedelics is very hard to integrate and apply into your life, and it can be so subtle that you don't really know. But with breathwork, I find it's very powerful and impactful, and you don't sort of forget. Yeah,
because you're experiencing it. The breathwork I'm trained in, it's all about trauma release, and to fully process trauma out of the nervous system or out of the body, to let it fully go and process it, to complete a trauma loop. So when we experience a traumatic event, we re-experience it, the body then gets activated into a stress response, which is a fight, flight, or freeze. Then what usually happens is we then stop that process. And that process gets stopped because we aren't taught the tools and resources at a young age how to move through when something traumatic or any sort of event contracts us. Yeah. We just shut it down. We're taught to just suppress. We're taught to just let it go. We're taught to just, come on, mate. Yeah. Don't cry. Stop crying. So when we're a kid and we're experiencing something and we get told to stop crying, we stop that experience. And whatever that traumatic event or whatever that experience is happening, when it gets stopped, the body then takes it on. It stores it somewhere. Wow. And it stores it to keep you alive and whatever's going on in that moment and functional. What the breath does, we then go back to those moments in time and we experience them presently with softness, with love, and it takes presence to do that. And we complete that loop by processing it. And when we've processed it, it's out of the body. It's no longer controlling your life. It's done. It's out. It's gone. And that's the powerful thing. You get to actually experience it physically and also see the physical result of it not impacting your life anymore because it's being processed.
All from the breath.
All from the breath.
That's amazing. So that's how we deal with trauma. What about fight or flight in the present? Like you're going experience around, but you're out and about in your day, fight, flight, or freeze comes up. How do we combat that, move through it, or even how do we get through that?
Yeah, with the breath too, or with self-regulation processes, which is you can do breathing, you can shake, you can tap your body, you can do so many. You can go and the first thing to do is remove yourself from that situation if you can.
Okay.
Remove yourself from that situation. Go somewhere where it's quiet. If you need a primal scream, you need to yell, you need to shake your body. You know, if you ever watch the best way I can describe it is imagine a gazelle's running through the plain of Africa and it's getting chased by a lion. And lucky for the gazelle, it gets away. The first thing the gazelle will do, it will shake its body. It will move through all those flight and flight responses activated.
Those videos, hey? Shake the leg or whatever and then just go about the day. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, so doing practices like that. And, for people that are in, harmful situations, that, remove yourself from the situation and deal with it later. Reaching on support systems, that's a big one, man. I think it's a big one for people because people feel shame about asking for help. I know I have in my life. I can do it myself. I don't need you to help me. It's just like, fuck, no, actually I need someone to hold me. And as a practitioner too, it's a big thing in the practitioner world. It's, well, I'm a practitioner, I can hold myself. It's like, nah, man, everyone needs to be held.
Who sort of heals the healers?
Sorry?
Who heals the healers?
Well, this is kind of what I'm saying, is that they need mentors and they need people to hold them too. And, in Indigenous cultures, they do that quite well.
Wow.
And I think in modern society we do as well. It's been my community, like, there's some really close friends of mine who are in this work and we lean on each other deeply because it's just what you do. And making that normal, normalizing this shit, normalizing this work, normalizing people feeling, normalizing people allowing themselves to do this without judgment and shame.
Beautiful. All right, man. I think that's a wrap, dude. That was fucking beautiful, dude.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate your time,
Thanks
man.
so much, bro.
You, dude. How long was that? Hour and 20?
Whoa, man. Went deep, hey?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like, is that your first podcast that you've done?
No, I've done a few, but not that length.
Oh, really? Like quite short?
Yeah. I've done shorter ones. And I've actually done my own podcast before. Did 2 episodes.
Oh, beautiful.
Then I stopped. Yeah. But yeah, I loved it, man.
Yeah, awesome, man. I'm glad you
I really enjoy it, actually. I just find myself just getting down these. It's kind of, we hit a few different subjects.
Yeah, that's awesome. You get into that sort of free flow going. And I found that during different times of the day, it changes the conversation as well. Especially with myself, for some reason, in the mornings, I feel sort of like, because before you came in, I did an hour meditation. Sort of really spacey and airy, so I find it hard to articulate exactly precisely what I want to do. And in the afternoons, I can activate it differently. It's weird how my mind works.
I like the more like just going with what's coming up.
I
love that kind of just where the energy's going.
Beautiful.
I had a cacao before I came as well, so it was pretty
nice.
Pretty hyped up, eh?
Yeah. Actually, one more question while the cameras are still rolling, or whether we can put it on or not, is what do you think anxiety and depression is, from your experience, and also how to combat that in a way that's sort of like, in a corporate setting, if you're at work, something happens that your anxiety spikes up. Is there any little breath techniques that you know you can do, that you can activate quickly while you're on the go?
Yep.
Without sort of shaking in a boardroom meeting?
Yeah, man. I just had deja vu. That's absolutely wild. Yeah, there's, breathing techniques. If you're in a room full of people, and you can just do some like gentle inhales and exhales.
Is that just through the nose or nose and the mouth?
In through the nose, out the mouth.
Okay, yeah.
You can do it silently, man. You can do it. No one even notice. People think you're taking a breath. Or if you don't want to make a lot of noise, it's in and out of the nose. You can do alternative breath work, You should actually block one nose, breathe in, hold on the top, and then switch, and then breathe out.
Nice.
And do some breath holds. You can put something that I do is this really helps. I put my hand under my legs.
I do that without even knowing that I'm doing it or why I'm doing it. Like if I'm at school or whatever, I just always put my hands like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to do. Warm up my hands or...
I find it really comforting.
Yeah.
And then if you can put your hand on your belly. If you can put your hand on your belly, because your anxiety usually comes from your belly.
Oh, wow.
It usually comes from this place of...
Is that the sacral chakra or
Yeah, because gut wrench, anxiety is just like that contraction, man.
Yeah.
And it's especially if you're in a room where you can't go into any of those deeper practices, it's just put your hand there. And this is, close to your power center as well.
Cool.
Where you can really ground yourself. And depression, I think depression, or I feel depression is really influenced from what is going on in your body. Like our body tells us everything that we need to know.
Yeah.
And if you're fucking holding a lot and you're not allowing yourself to let it go,
Yeah.
or if you've got a lot going on in your life, you're holding it for your family, whatever it is, that's weighing you down. You got the backpack on, you got all the rocks in it.
You sort of hit the ceiling. It's like, okay.
Yeah, take those rocks out, man. Let go of the backpack. And Jim Carrey, I really love Jim Carrey. And I've seen a video recently. I saw it a couple of times over last year and last few years. And he's like, depression is the universe slapping you in the face and telling you to stop being the person that you're not.
True.
And to remove the mask and to stop playing the character.
Yeah. It's a big one for me.